What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing, Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Now, I covered Benny Leonard in my other video, but I feel that I need to give him a little more justice and cover him some more. I have him, like I said before, ranked, I'll say top two between Joe Gan and Benny Leonard himself as the greatest lightweight of all times. It's just a personal opinion of mine. I've been looking at his record, and I constantly go through my Police Gazette scrapbooks. I got about 10 of them on these lightweights, and he keeps coming up. So I just want to share with you some of these articles. Here he's fighting Rocky Kansas. Now, Rocky Kansas was a very good lightweight champion. Let's actually just take our time and go through some of these photos here. This is a very good fight between Benny Leonard and Rocky Kansas. It was outdoors. And both of these fighters were 20 to 30 round fighters at that time. You see Rocky Kansas staggering to the ropes. Referee Lou Magnolia is trying to help him out. Benny Leonard trying to assist him for some reason. But Benny Leonard doesn't get the just due that he deserves. He just doesn't. I don't hear his name a lot. Benny Leonard knocks out a rugged challenger, Rocky Kansas. This is for the lightweight championship of the world. Let's move over. Benny Leonard holds on to his crown, though hard pressed by Rocky Kansas. Lightweight champion outpoints Buffalo Italian in 15 rounds at the Garden, but is painfully weakened by efforts to keep under 135 pounds. Drops challenger in 11th. Now, Benny Leonard, although he defeated Rocky Kansas by a wide margin in their 15-round championship battle at Madison Square Garden in New York City on the night of February 10th, brought home vividly to his many thousands of fans and admirers one indisputable fact, namely that Benny can not longer hope to defend his title at lightweight champion of the world within the limit of 135 pounds against a dangerous challenger without running a serious risk. Leonard, weighing in at 2 o'clock on the afternoon of the fight, teetered the beam at 134.5 pounds, which means that he adjusted the scales. He was overweight for that fight. In order to scale under the limit of 135 pounds and save his weight, forfeit money, because if he was overweight, he would have had to, it was considered a forfeit, and he would have had to turn that money over. Benny was compelled to exercise almost right up until the time of hopping on the scales. So he exercised consistently. A lot of times when fighters couldn't make weight, they would chew gum and skip rope at the same time and spit the saliva out. And they would have a towel over their head. They would have robes over their bodies, long pants, 2 pants on, just trying to sweat it out to make weight. A lot of fighters wrap themselves up, their bodies in saran wrap paper. Plastic, big bags wrapped it around them just to sweat it out. So Benny Leonard basically couldn't continue as a lightweight. And at some point he's going to wind up retiring because, that's what he was. He was a lightweight. And supposedly he had a lot of money. He was investing in the stock market. And as we read his story, stock market crashed and he lost all his money in 29. So he made a comeback to fight Jimmy McLaurin in the 1930, I think it was 1932. And unfortunately for him, he was stopped for the first time in his career. Benny Leonard knocks out Pinky Mitchell. Now, Pinky Mitchell was he was a junior welterweight champion. First junior welterweight champion they had. Lightweight champion gets good start for summer campaign. Nearly a riot at ringside in Chicago. Benny Leonard, the lightweight champion, started his summer boxing campaign very nicely in Chicago, Illinois. On the night of May 29th, when he knocked out Pinky Mitchell of Milwaukee, one of the Fighting Mitchell family, in a final round of the scheduled 10-round encounter. Benny fought slightly above the lightweight limit, entering the ring at 138 pounds against Mitchell, 140. See, now Benny Leonard was having problems in that fight as well, making weight. Leonard-Dundee feud. One of the long-standing feuds. Now, they fought over 10 fights, at least. When lightweight champion Benny Leonard and featherweight champion Johnny Dundee cross gloves at Yankee Stadium next Wednesday evening, it will be for the 9th meeting of their. So they fought 8 times before this upcoming fight. These two ancient New York rivals. In the 8th bout, they have waived the date. All of them no decision affairs. There has been little to choose between them, although in most stances, Benny had the lead. He had a lead on points in most people's opinions. Benny and Johnny know each other's style pretty well. Leonard and Dundee to meet September 5th for lightweight title. What might be classified as a sort of curtain raiser to the big heavyweight mill between Jack Dempsey and Louis Firpo. So that fight was on the same card as Jack Dempsey and Louis Firpo. Very interesting. The battle will be staged Cornwall Atlantic Club, which staged the Dundee critique fight. And Leonard will risk his lightweight title, although Dundee's crown will not be in danger. So Johnny Dundee's crown is not going to be on the line, but Benny Leonard's crown will be. That's according to the agreement. Now here you have Benny Leonard versus Lou Tendler. Here's Leonard on the left and Lou Tendler's on the right. Lou Tendler was an outstanding southpaw lightweight, phenomenal fighter. You have Lou Tendler on the right, Benny Leonard on the left. You can see Lou Tendler in the southpaw position, Benny Leonard on the orthodox position. Two outstanding fighters. That must have been something to see. Ringside scenes at the title bout between Benny Leonard and Lou Tendler. Lou Tendler was a Philadelphia fighter. That fight was New Jersey, July 27th. As we take a look at the articles. Leonard defeats Lou Tendler, but Champion is hard pressed. Benny Leonard is still having problems with his weight. Benny has hands full with Philadelphia lightweight and great 12-round battle at Boils 30 Acres. Benny and Lou to meet again, but not this year. Because of the great scrap that Benny Leonard and Lou Tendler gave the fans at Boils 30 Acres, there is an insistent demand for another meeting of these rival lightweights. Meanwhile, after his next couple of bouts, Leonard is planning to go to Europe for a long-promised pleasure trip, basically a vacation. He will take his mother and other members of his family with him. That fight took place July 27th, 30 Acres, New Jersey. Jersey City, New Jersey. Says Tendler lasted the full 12 rounds prescribed for the bout under the boxing laws of New Jersey. Because of his remarkable ability, he was able to withstand punishment. Lou is a punch button, a punch glutton, if ever there was one. I mean, he can pretty much take a beating. So they fought non-stop. The going that brought the great battle to a close. See, now you see why I have a hard time with Benny Leonard and Joe Gan. I'm going to do a lot of series on these because these are fighters that are not really talked about as often as they should be. Let's look on. Now, the majority of this book, it's 1,000 pages long, is Benny Leonard. I have 10 lightweight books like this, and I have a Harry Greb. Majority of that book is all Harry Greb. I have a couple of brokers. They wrecking my nerves trying to get this book. They keep sending me letters. But the Harry Greb book, for sure, because you're not going to find that anywhere. This one here, Leonard regaining best form and defeats Tendler easy in 15 rounds on the title bout. Benny swarms all over Philadelphian, but fails to knock him out. 65,000 witness scrap at Yankee Stadium in New York. I try to scan as much as I can so you guys can take a look. Because it's really fascinating reading. And, you have to be a fight fan and a person who really enjoys the history of boxing, to go through this, because you're not going to appreciate something if you don't really enjoy it. But I've learned a lot about the history of these fighters. Leonard fractures hand. The match with Lou Tendler is off. Title bout postponed when Benny's left thumb is injured in training 4 days before he was supposed to have a boxing match in Philadelphia. Ex-newsboy, the metacarpal bone hurt, same mishaps that Belfell George Carpentier. For the second time in the recent history of prize fighting, the metacarpal bone has brought itself prominently before the public notice. It came about when Benny Leonard, idol of the Bronx and lightweight champion of the world, dislocated and fractured said metacarpal 4 days ago. 4 days before he was supposed to have a meeting with Lou Tendler. I'm just paraphrasing. $15,000 lost for promoters. Because of the postponement of that fight. So what wound up happening, I'm going to show you here. Lou Tendler defeats Kansas in 15 rounds. So he wound up fighting, Lou Tendler wound up fighting Rocky Kansas. Leonard stops Willing in 14 rounds. Champion makes weight and proves himself easily the greatest lightweight at the present time. Dundee and Jackson battle 14 fast rounds to a draw. Well, they're talking about Johnny Dundee and Willie Jackson. Willie Jackson was a very good fighter. I'm going to go do this again. Don't worry about it. Let me just, Benny Leonard outpoints Powell Moore in 10 rounds. Benny Leonard had very little trouble defeating Powell Moore in New Orleans in 10 rounds, no decision. It was a no decision bout at the Louisiana Auditorium in New Orleans. It was on February 25th. I'll skip halfway through the book. Now you have here, Benny Leonard retires from the ring as undefeated lightweight champion. Love for a mother who worried about him induces great boxer to hang up his gloves, though still in prime. So we went through Benny Leonard's career, and I just wanted to get through a couple of articles, that Benny Leonard was just a magnificent fighter. So you know what? But salute to Benny Leonard once again. He's in my Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Well deserved. This is Scrapbook Boxing. Thanks for hanging out with me. Salute.